okay, I'll say I was just saying reserved, but I also think the seeds of the golden age or whatever, the seeds of potential evolution could be here and just kind of beginning to take root as well. I'm
I've
open.
had that very same feeling where it feels like there are seeds that are just waiting to sort of sprout and take over, and every time one sprouts, it would probably require the death of not your body, but sort of you. But that's cool that you use that seed thing, because I was feeling that same thing. But it seems like for no matter what you have on the time thing, we're at the start of the rising age right now.
Mm.
So yeah, for my yoga thing, which would be the Yogananda lineage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Those guys
I've heard a
have
little
us
bit
at
about
the we're out of the Kali, and we're in the rising age of Dwarpa.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to hope in a sense, because if we don't have, I mean, if we don't have that, because I don't have a lot of hope on other levels. I think it would actually take a large number of people actively engaged in intense practice, not just quantum scientists talking about the nature of matter, but actual discipline on a very large scale. And I think that is what it would take to really shift this thing. But yeah, Jared, go ahead, because I know Jared is the evolutionary thing, and I like his point of
Well, like,
view a lot. And he's a diehard optimist as
yes.
well.
That's a good description. The end of Kali Yuga and going into, is Dwapara or is it Satya?
Let's see. The thing that I have here, the cycles is Kali, Dwapara, Treta, and then Satya is the highest, and then you fall back down again after that.
The flow that you mentioned before, I think there really is some kind of energetic flow to cosmic evolution that is pretty much on par with this ancient teaching of Kali Yuga and everything. But that's just like my 2 cents in it. I think it's not just a human phenomenon, but this whole plane of existence, if we consider the different planes of existence and the great nest of being, this one is beginning to reflect the higher ones. Like a lot of mystics say, kingdom of heaven is manifesting on earth, and that matter somehow arranging and rearranging itself in a flow towards Omega. These sort of things. Maybe we're at a point right now where it's just daybreak, and obviously at the beginning of the day it's awesome, the veil is lifted, but it takes the whole day, to really warm everything up. So
yeah, that's a beautiful way of putting it. I like that point of view very much. And I think it's, if we go back to Gebster a little bit, I mean, he said, like, the integral structure will not be apparent necessarily, but that doesn't mean it's not there, or that you can't see hints and glimmers or isolated instances of the integral structure coming through. And he envisioned that as a kind of incorporation of all of these states of consciousness. Archaic, I think the arrangement is archaic, magic, mythic, mental in both its uprising stage and its deficient stage. You recognize those two. And then integral, which comes after it, which is supposed to be a kind of incorporation of all of those and a timeless, spaceless ability to utilize those things all at once. But me and Jared have gone back on this a few times, and we each agree that it's not just the thinking about it, he's actually predicting or speaking on is states of, not just like a conceptualization.
Qualitative and not quantitative as much.
Right.
But
And Rene Guénon, he's another perennial. Fits into that dichotomy of quality versus quantity, and he makes he's got like a whole book on it thing, but he makes a very distinct break in those two, quality and quantity, and how they manifest, how they relate to sacred science.
What do you think we should do about groups of people or systems that are unaccepting or unappreciative of anything besides their own viewpoint? Just hope that they go away and we don't get killed by them, or like, I don't really know how to I don't know how to interact or relate with people whose the foundation of their belief requires them to say that what I'm doing is bullshit. Like how do we move past that?
At some point, we have to. I've thought considerably about this topic. It's a difficult one, and it's one that requires like very practical measurements, I feel. And I agree. I think there will be but we're also not trying to necessarily create like a religion. I mean, we're not trying to create anything that isn't already there. I think we see this as something of a passing on of things that are already manifest and making it contemporary and present, but we're not, I don't feel any work that I'm necessarily inventing anything outside of a collective that is willing to dialogue on these topics.
So I mean, I'm just kind of you just ignore it and hope it goes away, I guess, because you don't want to adopt their mindset of being like, I don't accept you because you're not accepting that breaks, but I don't really know what to, because the people like that are the most militant, so I'm kind of worried about if this does take off, like, how do you not become the bad guy? Or how do you not fight fire with fire? So
yeah,
with that.
That's true.
There's a little bit of a sunset effect with fundamentalist thinking, or just we are the right way thinking. I mean, we're seeing it a lot today because I don't think there's ever been a point in history where so many points of view are trying to cohabitate the same planet, aware of each other. So I don't know if there's anything we can do except to continue to try to have this like ecology of consciousness, realizing there's some underlying stuff.
Just keep rubbing up next to them until they get used to it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, what else can we do practically? We can't force it. It's kind of like a natural transition,
I think this is where love comes in, to be honest, because this is where the love between people can flourish. And since we're not trying to harm anyone, and we're not really trying to do but bring people together and dialogue in new ways, and dialogue in ways that have never been done before, hopefully. But as you say, that's precisely the thing that some people want to resist. I mean, that's precisely the thing that makes authoritative power structures really worried, for instance, is when people start to get together and agree a little bit with each other and love each other more. Institutions are not really meant for that. They're really meant to keep people isolated and fragmented, and make sure that everyone disagrees and everyone has their own isolated sphere. At least that's been my experience of institutions.